Namaste, viewers. We are at 12 o'clock sharp and we believe in respecting time on this very auspicious 75th Independence Day of India. I, Reemarkabl, is so glad to have you all on board today on this 1 hour journey to understand what every human mind goes through when it comes to this so-called fearful world called fear. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here on a Sunday morning, respecting our flag. I purposefully do not play the national anthem on such an auspicious day because the national anthem has its own sanctity. And we need to respect it by rising for the occasion. But since we are in our homes, I prefer to say a very, very humble namaste to my country. Reemarkabl, as a person, has always been a girl who just believes in staying optimistic and looking for opportunities in this world of adversity. And once I started Reemarkabl, a platform which I constantly say is a promise to bring you stories of sense and not sensationalism, is my vision and my mission. Not taking too much of your time, I need to get back to this beautiful conversation. As you can see, freedom from fears and Independence Day special dialogue. And this dialogue is a conversation with none other than an absolutely amazingly profound professional, I would like to say, Dr. Paras.
Namaste to everybody. Good morning. Good afternoon. Yeah.
Yes. So if you see, Dr. Paras is an entrepreneur, a facilitator, a life leadership coach. He has profound 16 years of experience in the world of psychology with NLP, with so many other courses that he has brought together with his unique mindset. He deals with people in the most unconventional manner, ladies and gentlemen. He is not your typical coach who gives you a certain formula and say, follow it. He believes that every man, every woman, every child is different. Society and environments are different. And we finally need to bring each other together on a beautiful platform and to enjoy it. We believe that today is the day of independence, and we hope to bring you on this dialogue, Dr. Paras, what is your freedom from fear? Is fear always a negative emotion? And how do you define it before we get on to the most interesting part of how to handle your fear? Dr. Paras, the platform is all yours.
Thank you. Namaste to everybody and good afternoon. And thank you so much for taking this time for attending this simple, quick webinar on freedom from fears. So maybe I would also like to check with everybody that how are you feeling at this moment? In case if you are listening to us, watching us, just put a chat. There's a chat option. Just let us know how are you feeling at this moment. It would be great to hear as well. So there is a chat button there. If you feel like, hey, what I'm feeling right now, how am I experiencing? What is my emotion right now? What am I feeling? Okay, patriotic feeling today. Okay. Wonderful. So
feeling patriotic, that's amazing. Feeling patriotic, yes, yes.
Okay, so for me, I think let's begin with what exactly fear is and how our brain is associating with fear and how we could really work some tips in today's session to simple tips to understand how do we understand fear as a concept. Now, for me, I believe we come from, we as in human beings have evolved from nomadic state. And if you see at those times, there was always a lot of fear for survival. There were different there were human beings and there were animals, and we had to protect ourselves all the time. Okay, so if we look at the word fear as such, a fear is like a natural, it's a powerful and a primitive human emotions. So I believe that fear as an emotion, okay, help us to guard ourselves, to protect ourselves, to safeguard ourselves from any danger that we see outside. Okay, now let's take an example. If I'm driving my car at 80 on the express highway, it's good because I have no fear out there. I'm just going very well. But the moment I speed up to 140 and 160, okay, there's an adrenal rush that happens in the brain. Okay, do you experience something in the stomach? Then you say, hey, come on, slow down. So that means this fear as an emotion is letting you know that something seems to be not okay. We need to slow down because there is a space that we live in. Now, if I'm in the US and I'm driving with 120 miles an hour, I'm okay with that because that's a normal for me. So if we look at fear as a concept, it is the way you experience and experience the things around and the way you process it. While fear as an emotion it's very primitive to protect you. Now, if I'm driving with that speed on the express highway, I may have a fear that I may just end up, getting on another car or something may happen. So it is guiding me to pause, to stop. Or if I remember going for scuba diving or bungee jumping or skydiving, the fear as an emotion is going to be naturally there. If I have no fear, what would happen? I may take a risk, okay, but there's no calculation in that and may end up with smoke. So fear seems to be a very supportive, positive emotion that helps me to grow, that helps me to take calculated risk, that helps me to understand what are my boundaries when I'm working, what kind of risk I'm allowed to take, what kind of risk I should not take, whether it could be dealing with crisis. Okay, and one of the major crises that we see today, or things that we see today with the pandemic, is a lot of fear being created. Now, the point here is, how are we processing this fear? Now, what Deepak Chopra talks about, that stress is not about what stress is, but how do you perceive it? While neuro-linguistic programming of Dr. Richard Bandler talks about that it's not about fear, it's about the map that you have about fear. Okay, so some of them can look at cockroach and scream out loud. Okay, and say that, hey, I have this fear. I'm like so scared about that. But are you really scared about the cockroach? Or are you scared about the image you have about the cockroach in your brain? Because that brain has an image of cockroach as if it's going to eat you up. And that scares you rather than the cockroach. In the same way, if you see a lion, if you see something very known thing in your system, you're not afraid because you're aware about it, or the way you've processed it. But if you see something very new, like pandemic, when COVID came in, it was very new for people, and we were unable to process it. So the image of that fear of many things started expanding. Some of them went through some real life experiences, some concerns with jobs, and people losing their jobs, people losing the education system got impacted. Okay, there were many areas got impacted because yes, there is an event. It's some sort of event that is not controllable by us. So it is going to, our natural brain is going to, primitive brain is going to get into amygdala hijack, and amygdala is a small organ in the brain, okay, that gives messages to your nervous system. Okay, the moment it senses fear. So now what happens to when the amygdala is hijacked with this fear of uncertainty, fear of losing jobs, fear of future, fear of what next for my career? There's so many things, okay? And those fears we have, but how do we see them? How do we process them? if we see them in a way that, okay, I do not know what's going to happen next, but I know today how I'm going to deal with it, step by step, one step at a time. But what we end up doing is a grandiose image of that fear. And that leads to stress. And the moment that stress is experienced in the body, the emotional body, the psychological body, the biological body, it has an impact because it has to deal with that stress, because it's processing it. Now, the mind processes something, the body has to experience it. So the mind experiences the grandiose image of this fear. Oh my God, what's going to happen next? My finances, my dreams, my career, my future. And then it has an impact on the body. The stress really increases because the moment the amygdala gets into this fight, flight mode, okay, it's like the child, you take the toy out, the child starts crying, and that's the way the body reacts. The cortisol gets released in your body, okay, because it's a natural, what we say, steroid hormone to deal with stress. So it tends to get released in the body, and you get more stress. And eventually, what happens? Eventually, you end up thinking about it over and over again. And that same grandiose image and the impact on the body further leads to dysfunctional, disorganized way of dealing with things. So is fear bad, or fear is bad as an emotion, or fear is actually supporting you to grow? Fear is supporting you to understand what you could do with things around. Rather than fear is a bad emotion, how it can be bad is actually safeguarding me, protecting me. And imagine if we do not have fear, we do not have sadness, we do not have anxiety, we do not have, any sort of anger. Okay, how will our life be? Because we live in a planet which we love. We love the pizzas, we love the Indian cuisine, we love the different types of cuisines. So our taste buds are pretty intense with emotions. In the same way, these emotions are also important for us to experience life. Now, the whole question comes in: how do you want to understand fear and explore fear? What does that mean to you? That's a question I want you to ask yourself. If you say you have a fear of uncertainty, how does that fear look like to you? Okay, and there could be a grandiose image you could have, but is that in your control? Or what is in your control with that part? Let's say there is a little smoke in the kitchen. What can you do? I can scream and scream. I can get paranoid. Or simple thing is, I could get the fire extinguisher and just do a little bit my work and then take that call. But what I end up doing is I end up overthinking, causing me to a lot of anxiety and stress. And then I'm unable to process things because that fear grips me completely. Or I allow the fear, the image of the fear, not the fear is an emotion, the image of the fear to grip me so much that I don't want to take any actions. But I would love to keep talking about, I have this fear, what do I do? Either with myself, with my life, with my partner, with my family members, with everybody around. Okay, and then gets into any sort of behavioral issues like addictions, could be constantly worrying, leading to anxious thoughts, always being under stress. But how a life would look like if you just understand that how fear can be channelized. How can I really channelize my understanding about fear? That, okay, this is something gives me fear. Now, is it real or is it imagined? If it's a real fear, that's I told you, the smoke in the kitchen, driving with 140 speed on the highway, it's a real fear. You see a lion or a tiger in front of you, it's a real fear. You see something which there is a lot of uncertainty, it is a real fear. Okay, but the imagined fear gets mixed with that. The imagined fear is all about, what if I lose my job? What if I lose, the economy is going to go down, everything's going to be crazy. Will I be on the roads? Will I be successful? What will happen to my kids? We are processing a lot of stories in a form of fantasies. And these fantasies and stories are not helping me in the now. It's just creating more chaos, leading me to some panic disorder, or some sort of stress, or some sort of sadness, or enhanced depression, and getting into a lot of anxiety disorders. Okay, but the point here is, how about taking that first little step to understand there is a fear? Yes, there is a fear. Is it real or imagined? It's a real fear. What can I do now about it? I can take little steps about it. Go to the kitchen, put that extinguisher, call people, call the firefighters, and all of them, and help me. In what ways you could support me to combat? But if it's an imagined fear, a fear that is constantly created by our own selves, then what happens? The moment you're constantly creating that imagined fear, the amygdala is sending messages to the brain, and the brain is creating stress, cortisol in the body that creates stress, and that stress has an impact in your day-to-day life. Like sitting at home as a coach, okay, as a counselor, coach, trainer, being in this room, like settling myself, quite a stressful thing for me. A lot of fear. What if my life is just going to get stuck here? But then that's the real thing. For the next couple of months, I may have to stay here. For 1 year, I did it. Okay, but it's not permanent. After, say, about 2 hours, you watch a Bhagwan movie or some patriotic movie, and you ask yourself, how are you feeling? Your feelings will change. That means our emotions, our feelings about our emotions are not permanent. That means it is changing. So when things are not permanent, what we need to look at is we need to give a little time to what we are experiencing. And do we really call the big brother or the big sister that I always invite a lot of people to explore in? Do we really call that big brother or big sister? Who is that in our brain? Okay, amygdala is here. The fight flight. Primitive man always had to explore, always was into stress, so automatically was releasing this fight flight to protect himself, the family, the community from external environment. But if let's take an example, if I am under stress and I have a lot of fear going around in the environment, my amygdala automatically releases stress hormone, and then I get into this fight flight mode, and then I'm unable to, because it may not be real fear. It could be the grandiose image of the fears. But what if I call the big brother or the big sister? And I really make it very simple to understand this, which is called the executive brain. The executive brain is a part of us which help us to rationalize, challenge, explore, converse, confront. Okay. In Hinduism, there is something concept of chakras. So this is more like a vision. So the executive brain, okay, it's a very simple thing where you put the bindi, the women put the bindi or the men put the tika. Is that place which, if you're able to bring that fear in the room, say I have this fear of, what if my job is not going to be there, or will I be losing my job? Will I be losing my career? Will everything go down? How things will be in future? Again, when you start talking about it, you're bringing the big elephant in the room. And then the big elephant comes in and you're so scared, you're so worried, all of that starts in. And then that amygdala hijack and you start dealing with it. What I want you to look at it, bring the invisible elephant in the room. Okay, so the invisible elephant is the actual real issue, which may not be so big. With the help of the big brother or big sister, that is the executive brain, you help that particular problem to deal with it. You actually start looking at, okay, I have this, I'm a life leadership coach, I'm a consultant. Many corporates have moved out by saying that we have put the trainings on hold and coachings on hold. Okay, what do I do now? Oh my God, will I lose this? But the point here is simple. Okay, what can I do now? Okay, I like this 4 style of questioning, which my rational brain or executive brain, a thinking brain would give me. The 4 questions are the most powerful questions that really helped me, and it may help you to explore while dealing with your fear or anxiety or stress. Okay, and that 4 questions, you actually can give it to your friends, family, kids. Tell them, okay, use this 4-question technique to support yourself at this moment. The first question is, whenever you have this fear, the invisible elephant is dancing around behind the big elephant. Okay, just ask the first question, what can I control in the situation? I'm dealing with uncertainty. I'm dealing with very simple thing. A lot of homemakers are dealing with maid issues, creating a lot of stress. And that itself is a big, big thing like management issues. Because today, people live in a house where they require various people involved in supporting for the house survival. So one is could be cleaning, one is could be dusting, and many women are suffering. I'm like, almost we have a range of issues that we see. One of the topmost issue in family is what I got to learn is about this whole fear of good people are not coming in. So the first question is, what can I control in the situation? So that will give you an idea of what can you do as Paras. What is your strength and what is your limitation? Get the boundaries clear. Let the executive brain do that work. The second question that you can ask yourself is, what is that I cannot control? Now, there is so much of third wave issue going on. Will we be able to make peace with it? What would happen to our kids? What about us? How can we manage things? The past is worst. Okay, we had got stories from the medias, we've got stories from communities, Facebooks, and many other social media revealing a lot of information. I do not say what kind of information and the way you process that information. So the second question could be, what is that you cannot control in this situation? Get that clarity. Okay, I'm not allowed to go out from this place. I cannot control this. I can control to be in this place, but I'm not allowed to go in the night. Okay, I'm clear about it. It's some sort of instructions. I cannot control it. I cannot change. But what I can do is I can protect my family, my society, by having certain clarity in communication and dealing with that threat. Oh, the stock market is getting impacted. We have investments. Can we control that? If you cannot, okay, if you really cannot control that part, then go back to the first question, what can I control from here? Let's make peace with the present. And that may help you a lot as a person to explore that I'm not a superman or superwoman. That everything I have to control because I'm a father or mother of the house, or grandfather, grandmother of the house, or the big brother or big sister of the house. No, that's not what you need to take it to yourself. because that is creating a lot of stress, because we feel we have to do everything, but we can't. So let's have the boundaries clear. And when you ask these questions, when you start reasoning, you start settling with the data. The emotions starts to calm down. And your thoughts are clear. What can you do? What you cannot do? So then you don't feel guilt, regret. You don't have fear about not being able to manage resources, things around, because that's where we are clearly having that clarity of the two distinction between what can you do and what you cannot do. The third question that you can ask your big brother or big sister, okay, that's the third question is, what is that I cannot do, I can influence? That means I really cannot do this, but I can probably influence certain people to help me. Okay, I can reach out to a few people who can support me. Okay, I am in stress. I'm wondering about how things are going to be. So let me check with some resources and check what can I get from it. So now what I cannot do, but I can get an influence on that. That means I can be persuasive. I can get some things from certain people. So it's not about you now, it's about other. So I may ask Reema to help me with here. But Reema may choose to say yes or no. That's a different thing. But then it's about what can you take help from the system, from the environment, from your family, from your friends, from your society, whomsoever you're connected with. But the last question is a question, if you really take it forward, will solve a lot of your questions and fundamental questions of your life. And the last question is what I realize in my life. Okay, the first three questions is from this powerful book, What Got You Here, What Got You There. But the last question I added to myself from the three questions. And that last question is, am I controlling something which is beyond my control? And that's where the whole story lies. Can you control uncertainty? Can you control we've lost a job? Can we control, we've been fired? Can we control there's a death in the family? Can I control people have gone through COVID? My friends, my family, my relatives. I've lost people around whom I never thought. Okay, so the fourth question really helped me to question my own self. Am I controlling something which is beyond my control? That I have to drive that whole thing. I have to do everything. And this pandemic really taught me that it's not to fear the fear, but embrace the fear so that it can give you freedom. And when I'm not just using the cognitive words here, but you actually start exploring. When I got COVID in April, then my mom got, after that, my sister got, and when my dad got, the whole family was in a mess. And I felt it's like a cycle. It's not ending. It's like I have to wake up in the morning and say, is this a dream, a bad dream? We're going to wake up. I realized my mom getting into a ventilator, hospitals were not available, all crazy things happened. But that moment was always a time that I remember this question that, okay, what is it I can control? I can call up people for hospitals. I can call up, I can beg, I can request, I can do everything to my best. And when we were not getting it, I was making a peace to myself that this is what I'm going to do the best. That's what in my control. My prayers, everything was on. But then, what is that I cannot control? Am I controlling? That gives you disappointment. And that's somewhere I would like you to question and challenge, because that will support you to pause and make peace with that present. We may not be in what we say in a beautiful la la land right now, what we were maybe some years ago, 1.5 years ago. But if this is a new normal, how are we going to embrace it? And we know that we have loans, we have car loans, house loans, children, career, all of that. Take this question together, all these 4 questions, and make peace with this by talking to each other. It's not a depression talk. It's a clear communication talk. So rather than being positive and optimistic, can we have more realistic conversation with the family? Can we deal with that? Because that is going to reduce my amygdala hijack, the fight-flight response, and make that peace with the present. And one of the very simple tips that I would love to share with you, and you can do that because it's one of it's coming from our Indian Vedas, and is the Ida and Pingla, okay, concept. Go on Google, you can do a lot of it. Okay, so the Ida and Pingla is nothing but the nostrils I'm talking about. Okay, the moment you have a fear, the first thing you need to do, forget about the first 4 questions. The amygdala is hijacked and I'm like worried and all of that. Just check the breath. Where is it? Right now, so you're on mute. You don't need to put your fingers in your nose, but just check. Where is the breath coming from? Is it from the left or right? And wherever it's coming from, just pen it down and put it in the chat. Let's see. Where is it coming from? It will come from either one of them or both of them. Usually it's one, and in some time throughout the day, it's both. So check it out if you're right now having, as we're talking to everybody here, you may be thinking about some of your fears, okay? And you see the nostrils, where is it coming from? The breath in and out. Now, what you need to do, the best thing that I have, this is something gift to our country, from our culture, is to change the breathing to the different nostril. That means if it's from the left, try from the right. So right now, I have a lot of fear about future. As I'm talking to you, I'm also wondering about my future. Okay, and I'm just thinking, it's coming from the left. What I have to do now, I have to block that left and take my breath from the right. Do it 3 to 4 times and check your mental state. There'll be a huge shift, transition completely from the fearful, crazy, paranoid state to a much better state. It could be any moods you're suffering from. If you're getting into some sort of discomfort, unhappy, angry, sad, just check your nostrils and use the other part of it. If you wake up from a bad dream or early morning, you get something in the gut that, hey, something is going, I'm not feeling good. I heard that news last night was bad. And I just woke up at 4 o'clock. I'm not able to sleep. Just change your nostrils. Breathe from that nostril for at least 10, 15 times and just go off to sleep. You'll sleep like a baby. And this is one of the most simple technique to immediately change the mode of your processing information. Okay, and I was so fortunate by my teacher who taught me this, and it really helped me so easy. I call that, people say that it's magic. It's not magic. It's all in the biological system. If you just use this technique, it may support you. But it is a lot of research based. You can go on Google, you can read a lot of books on that. A huge work is going on that part. So that's where, I'm talking a lot during my notice with your first question itself. Okay, so again, Roger's asking, in case if it's possible, what if I'm breathing with both the nostrils? So when you're dealing with both the nostrils, it's very good to just close your eyes and focus on your breath. That's a very good time to just ease yourself, because that's a time where your meditative space goes very high. So if you're able to even close your eyes at that state and just breathe in with focusing on your breath for at least 3 minutes or 2 minutes, you can ease a lot to yourself. That's one. Second is change to either one of them, right or left, and see the difference. So whenever you have the Madhyanari, where both the nostrils, where the breath is coming in and out, it's a good state for you to meditate, to ease yourself. That's the fastest way. That's the fastest time, not fastest way, fastest time where you're able to process things faster. You can ease yourself very quickly. And very good for meditation. But very simple way is to use either one of the nostrils and breathe in and breathe out. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, you've been listening to me for a little longer than, I thought probably the first question would end in 10 minutes, but we just got a little longer. So if you have any questions coming, I'll be very happy to support that as well. With the best of my awareness, I'm not an expert. Because I believe that we all have perspectives, and some perspectives work for some people and some perspectives don't work. When it doesn't work, you find a new perspective. Okay, so there is no one way to climb Mount Everest in order to overcome your fears. You can probably find different ways. Yeah. So if there are any questions for me, I'll be happy to address. Or even if you're able to put your thoughts, your learnings, what are you reflecting so far? What are you learning for yourself? Or how is it supporting you? We'll be happy to learn some more comments as well. In the meanwhile, Reema, do you have any questions for me?
Yes. So I'm going to just go through this journey, Dr. Paras. First and foremost, I am now in a different zone. Let me be honest. I'm the host, I'm the moderator, but I'm also the mother. All right. When I was kind of reflecting on your story, and especially my dear audience, few of them joined in a bit late, Dr. Paras took us through some very 4 profound techniques to handle fear. He's saying fear is inevitable. Do not fear it, please embrace it. Just for your knowledge, just those quick 4 questions. One is, what can I control? Ask that question. Number 1 is, what can I control? Question number 2 is, what is it that I cannot control? Question number 3 is, what is it that I can influence? Can I do something about it, please? With the environment, with friends, with family, etc. And the last question, according to him, which is the greatest and the most profound, is, am I controlling something which is beyond my control? Especially we women, we think we are like this Durga. We think we've got this major formula to fix it all. I have learned it at 45, saying, boss, I can't fix it all. And hence I have to face the fact that you're all beyond just this so-called perfectionist attitude. Dr. Paras, I am so touched and so humbled with this whole experience that, I think it's so important. You touched the students' fraternity, you touched relationships, you touched health. There is a question, of course, which Mr. Raj is saying, sometimes in the fear of not taking the right decision, one does not take decisions at all. How do we overcome this? Basically, procrastination. Karo ya na karo, kya hoga?
So the question here comes in, sometimes in the fear of not taking the right decision and does not take decisions. My first question is, who decides the right and wrong? And I want to, have a very fundamental question to everybody out here. What is right and what is wrong? How do we decide? Is the first question I want you to ask yourself. Okay, because one of the fables of Osho's I really love, because I stay in Pune and he's a wonderful philosopher, and I love one of his stories and the tales of some wisdom I learned. That one day Mullah Nasruddin is this famous character that he uses in his stories, was invited by the king okay, to give justice, who is telling the truth. Okay, and there are three teams. And Mullah Nasruddin goes to the first person, talks to them for half an hour, tells to the king, they're telling the truth. Then the other two are surprised and shocked, now like, we are dead. We do not even have our own say. And the second team was, again, he goes and talks to them for 20 minutes and he says they're telling the truth. And the last team is sweating now, like, we have no say now. But he talks to them for almost 45 minutes and then tells the king that they're telling the truth. Now, king is shocked and like he's angry. He said, I called you to tell me who is telling the truth. And that's what Mullah Nasruddin brings out, that everybody's talking the truth from their own versions of reality. There is no absolute finite truth. It's a perspective. And the fundamental question that I ask you to ask yourself about the right decision is that same question I ask you. How do I know it's a right decision or wrong decision? When the outcome comes in? So if the outcome comes in, is it about right or wrong, or is it about learning and progress? Learning if things do not go the way I expected, whether it was a relationship, whether it was an investment, whether it was a certain decision of changing jobs or changing business. So very important and fundamental is if I get to learn from that, it's not a failure. But if I have a fear of taking a decision because I was told that I'm not taking the right decision, or I do not take right decision, or end up taking wrong decisions all the time, is what you're processing in your brain, and your brain is not supporting you to progress further. Because for me, there is no right or wrong decision, because we cannot control everything. That's what I learned from the 4 questions. So maybe I will take the decision, but that decision will give me either learning or some sort of progress. Even learning is a progress, or some opportunity to grow in both ways. So when I start questioning my fundamental belief about the right decision, then it's just a decision which is well thought. You take time, you use different ways, you hire a consultant, you hire a family, talk to family, everybody whomsoever you want to. But the outcome is not in our hands. If I ask all the mothers, okay, that if your kid scored in the 9th standard, about 95%, okay, can we have a predictability that it may be between 92 to 98%? They may score that much if there is a predictability. So maybe 7th, 8th, and 9th, the scores are between 90 to 95. There is a predictability. If there's a yes, okay, there is a button here where you can just say, or maybe action button, or just type it, yes, there is a predictability. If there is no predictability. But the question for people who say yes is where I would like to ask you, are you correcting your own paper? If you're not correcting your own paper, that means the outcome is not in my hand, it's in somebody else's hand. What is in my hand is to study well or decide the decision-making process, whether environmental understanding, market understanding, finance understanding, investment understanding, and then taking that decision. But the decision outcome is not based only on what you've done, but also there are factors which are not in your control, and it could play out in different ways. So if I was told that, in my childhood, you're not good at math, and I believe in that, no matter I'm doing an excellent business today, but I'll always put myself into a thought that I'm not good at math, so I need to hire somebody. or I am not good at math because maybe something else is happening. So that right decision can be a myth. It's a decision, well thought. Now, certain decision you may take after 5 days, certain decision you may take after a gut feeling, but that is a decision with some outcome, and that outcome is not in my control. That outcome I can manage from my angle with the first 3 questions very well, and take the 4th one with the flow. Now, this program, this presentation of 1 hour, okay, maybe a wonderful presentation, maybe pathetic presentation. I don't have a control over that. I may take it as a learning or progress. What I have a control is how prepared am I with my content, with my perspective to transfer to the audience. It's not only about the content, okay, the gyan. It's about how I'm able to express it to my audience. And if that I'm clear very well, I'm doing my job. Some people may be happy. Some people may say, no, it was nothing interesting for me, or I did not associate with it, which is fine, because it's a perspective of every person. So remember, the inference that we again draw is there's no absolute reality. It's varied perceptions. What we see from our 5 senses is what we believe in things around. So now what you're seeing as 3, right decisions part. My invitation to all of you here is you are taking decisions every day. Every day, every decision you're taking, whether to brush your teeth, to talk to your audience, talk to people around, could be anyone. You are taking decisions and doing. So the right and wrong is the outcome. So don't need to stress yourself with that. You just take the decision. When you say that I have a fear, and the fear is like self-guarding you to don't even think there is a problem. There is something that I need to do about it. When you say, Reemarkabl said about procrastination, why do we do procrastination? Because the fear is supporting me here, that I don't want to fail. Because a failure is a bad feeling over fear. So we are not solving. We are just holding that space and not doing anything, because the fear is not about, about the decision. The fear is about the belief of the decision. That am I a good son, good father, good child, whatever the roles you're playing in your life. So a very inspiring conversation that I read from one of the books, Incredible, Unbelievable, is by late Sunny Satin way back, okay, in 2008, which really opened that for me, that that if I am holding fear, some sort of right or wrong things, I'm actually getting caged myself with that, and I don't take decisions at all. Those decisions I tend to procrastinate, I tend to give it to somebody else, or I take at the 11th hour, and that turns out to be not a good outcome, and then blame that I took decision and it was bad. So that means I'm questioning the role I'm doing in my life. So how about a better deal is to talk to your fundamental belief about the good decision or right decision. Okay, because it's a perspective. Whatever you see, okay, how it's presented to you becomes your facts. That facts can change. Like first it was told that you can give plasma blood. It became a fact for me. I went to donate that. Then it was told to me that no, not required after 3 days immediately, that, it's not required at all. This is not supporting, and the whole perspective changed. So there's nothing right or wrong, or guilt or regret. It's very simple, is to take that call if you want to take it and trust your intuitions. It will give you learning and growth. So just checking with the question you asked was a very, Very powerful question. And I'm sure we are running on the top of the hour as well. So there is another question. Reema, are there any more questions to
Yes.
explore?
So yes, because I'm having people coming in. It's very interesting, Dr. Paras. People are, logging in. That most important thing is, as you said, man is number one a social animal, and hence he needs to connect. But there is no absolutely reality. Just to get back, so that my audience is connected back again. No guilt, no regrets. There is no failure, only feedback. Hence, get out of your system that you are. Your beliefs is what is something that governs you all the time. Question is actually answering this gentleman's question. He says that there is a person who lost his job in his early part of his career, and since then he hasn't looked up for another job, fearing that he's going to lose this job time and again. And he suggests, how does he change the perspective? So I think most of this is answered. The questions.
Absolutely. Also read the book Who Moved My Cheese. It's a very powerful book about change.
Right.
Everything that is changing everything is changing. Everything is impermanent. Everything is changing. So we cannot say that things have to be constant, and that's where the disappointment in life comes. To all the people who work on perfection, that this is the best job, this is the right time in the career, this is the best time to have kids, this is the best time to go for vacation. And there's a disappointment. So what about you just take a call based on how the situation is for you? Then that perspectives are changed and negotiated well with the environment. See, we human beings are very flexible people. And fear, when you talk about do we fear, but we are very flexible people. When that Notebandi came in, we were disoriented for a while. We had our fears knocking the door, but we managed. The COVID came in. We were told people were outside, social animals, were told to sit at home and protect each other. Okay, and we survived, and we are still surviving. Protecting, surviving. So we are adaptable human beings. So a part is that adaptability and flexibility is in our DNA. Let's exercise that as strengths. Now, when you say that I have a fear, or the person says that I have a fear to look out for a job, eventually you are going to, the moment you hit your existential or survival stance. Because naturally you are conditioned to work. How long will you like to sit? Maybe that fear is a temporary space you need to sit and make peace with. Maybe you need to talk to that fear, how it looks like to you. Maybe negotiate, embrace it, because that's the change. Maybe are we really talking about fear, or are we talking about change? Is that change giving you fear, or change giving you clarity of the present moment, which is difficult for me to process because it doesn't fit in the square of the frame that I live in. And that's the reason it creates fear in me. So the story is pretty clear of change to fear. Now, what you need to believe is everything is changing. Even your emotions are changing. Half an hour ago, your emotion was scary, patriotic, love, whatever could be, it changed. So if everything in you is changing, then definitely your fears, the grandiose image about your fear is also going to change. But you need to give that time to yourself to talk to your fears, to talk about to yourself, talk to your family members, hire a coach, work with some therapists, work with some mental health workers, go out and talk. If not, the better way to do is I have a wonderful platform, which is a free certification program on mental health. I'll share that link with you all right now. It's available in English and Hindi, and soon it will be in Marathi as well. So we would like to cater to people globally and locally. Maybe I'll share the link with you all. If you like, you can participate in that program. It is appreciated by 50 countries altogether and more than 7,000 plus registrations. It's a free certification. Get a concept. If your concepts are not clear, your executive brain requires concepts, frameworks. If they're not clear, exercise it, invest it, or just learn it, whatever you want to do. So one of the very simple ways to work is, is to start addressing what is bothering you about the change. And then, because there are certain crises where things are not in your control. Somebody lost a job, is jobless for the last 2 months, financial condition is not okay. But we all survive in our own ways. Okay, I can complain on the Facebook, I have no job, but I'm going to survive. It's going to make me stronger rather than making me more vulnerable, because your brain will see that as some sort of threat, and it will help you to take strategies to live in minimalism rather than going by, probably by, traveling by a wonderful car. You may look at for, let's go for a simple car, or maybe no car. Let's go for bus. Let's take the metros, would be anything. But your brain is going to do that because flexibility is in our DNA. So you are going to eventually go for the change. It's like, in Marathi, it says that Vag mantla te kana, Vagoba mantla te kana. So you are going to change and evolve. It's just the time and perception improvement or change.
Absolutely. And as Dr. Paras, you also mentioned about the structure of the way we are. I mean, I just heard somebody recently telling me that man is not logical, but he is biological. So
absolutely,
it is so true, because it all starts from the amygdala, and then it creates that chaos, and then of course the executive brain. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually just 4 minutes away from our time, but I don't know. For me, this is such an engaging conversation. I can honestly go for an hour more. But I just want to tell you all, my friends, that Dr. Paras is just not a Gyani. I mean, he is a doer. And if you can read about him, it's right here that he comes with a pedigree of knowledge with, life leadership. So, he has some interesting thing to share about you on his on the social, on your course. Dr. Paras, do you want to just give them a quick update?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that I'm sharing with you. One is the Tavamitram link I've shared as promised. You can update your knowledge. You can share with as many people as you can. It's free of cost. You can go to the Tavamitram website as well. You can join us as a free volunteers and support more people if you want to. I believe in when we got COVID, when who were hospitalized, those families started supporting other people to find beds and things. So we can support self and others. Second thing I've given you is a mindfulness practitioner link where you can register, get 5 audio files in hypnosis to put you into a better space. Okay, so there's a meditative thing that I've shared with you and my website. That's it. I mean, like if there is anything else, you can always touch base with Reema. She's the best person. And also you have all my details. Yeah.
So, I mean, this audience has been, I think, in a zone, because whoever came to attend this session, Dr. Paras, believed first and foremost that they can fight fear.
Wonderful.
Honestly, fear is something that is so, negatively toned all the time, from our school days, from our, as you said, maths. I'm a classic case of a professor saying, you're terrible at maths, and that stayed on with me. Maybe I wasn't terrible. So it's so important for us to get out of this. Thank you for your 4 questions. It's all going to be there as pointers on my website. It's all going to be there as pointers on my YouTube channel, my friends. And one more thing, please. What he's saying is the mind is flexible. We humans are social animals. Do not give up. Do not get into this so-called D word of depression and disease. Because mental health is a disease also. To be in the right mental health is prosperous. The wrong mental health can lead to poverty of life. is what I believe, because that's what we all are here together. I mean, I truly want to respect time. I know there could be more questions. I can feel them, as they say, it's your intuition that gets into the kicking. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me on this Sunday afternoon on our Independence Day. And I seriously hope this 1 hour brought in some value, an iota of value, that I am a winner today in my little. I am so grateful. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being with me. And if can, support my journey on Reemarkabl, because my mission and my vision is very clear: to give you stories of sense and not sensationalism, because I value time. I value people, and most importantly, myself. Thank you, and God bless you all on this fabulous journey called life. And may each and everyone in this connection prosper together. Dr. Paras, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. I have an admission just now. I feel so bad, but I want to respect this gentleman who's joined in from Chandigarh. We are winding up today, and all this is going to be available on my YouTube channel as well as my website. Dr. Paras, we're going to continue this session because I'm getting people saying, let's connect back.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste, everybody. Jai Hind, everybody.
And 75th Independence Day ki jai ho. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.